Victoria Hale sat alone in one of Chicago's most expensive restaurants, while snow pressed silently against the tall glass windows. Her blind date was 43 minutes late, the kind of late that meant he wasn't coming at all. Across from her, an empty chair. Across the aisle, another empty chair. At the next table, a man in a worn wool coat checked his phone for the 19th time before quietly saying, without looking at her, "Your date didn't show up either." Huh. Two strangers. Two no-shows. Outside, the snow kept falling. Inside, something else was about to begin. The reservation had been made under Anna Mitchell, a name Victoria used when she wanted to disappear from being Victoria Hale, CEO of Hale Dynamics. Tonight, she wore jeans. A simple sweater. No jewelry except a watch her father had given her before he died. She'd told her assistant she had food poisoning. Told her board she was working from home. Told herself this was the last time she'd try something this foolish. Her work phone vibrated in her purse. She ignored it. The waiter approached for the third time. Sympathy etched across his professional smile. "Ma'am, would you like to—" "5 more minutes," she said. He nodded and retreated. She knew what 5 minutes would prove. The same thing the previous 43 had already proven. But admitting it out loud felt different than knowing it quietly. The man at the next table shifted in his seat. He was maybe late 30s, early 40s. Dark hair starting to gray at the temples. Hands that looked like they worked with something other than keyboards. His coat was clean but old. The kind you keep because it still does the job, not because it makes an impression. 19 times, he said, still not looking at her. "I've checked my phone 19 times in the last hour. At some point, you'd think I'd accept she's not coming." Victoria found herself almost smiling. 43 minutes. That's my number. 43 minutes is generous. He finally turned toward her. His eyes were kind. Tired, but kind. "I gave up at 37, but I'm too embarrassed to leave." "Same." The waiter hovered nearby, clearly trying to determine if he should bring check presenters or call security. Victoria looked at the man, really looked at him. There was something about the way he sat, shoulders slightly hunched, like he was trying to take up less space in the world. She recognized it because she'd spent most of her 20s doing the same thing, before she learned that taking up space was the only way anyone noticed you were there. "Daniel," he said, offering his hand across the aisle between their tables. She hesitated for only a second. "Anna." His handshake was firm, warm, the kind of handshake that came from actual work, not from practicing confident greetings in MBA programs. "Well, Anna," Daniel said, settling back into his chair. "I don't know about you, but I'm starving. My pride is already destroyed, and the snow outside looks like it's not stopping anytime soon. What are you suggesting?" "That we've already been stood up, already sitting in an overpriced restaurant neither of us probably wanted to be in, already feeling like idiots." He paused. "Might as well feel like idiots together. At least then we can split an appetizer." Victoria felt something shift in her chest. Something small but definite, like the first crack in ice that's been frozen too long. "Okay," she said. They pushed their tables together. The waiter looked relieved when they explained. He brought menus, lit a candle between them, and pretended this had been the plan all along. "So," Daniel said, studying the menu without really seeing it, "do we talk about why we're here, or do we pretend we both just really love overpriced French cuisine? I'm here because my assistant thought I needed to engage with life outside the office." Victoria surprised herself with the honesty. "What about you?" Daniel set down his menu. "My son asked me if I was lonely. He's 8. 8-year-olds shouldn't have to worry about their dads being lonely." The candle flickered between them. "Are you?" Victoria asked. "Yeah," he said it simply. "You?" "Yeah." The waiter appeared. They ordered without thinking soup, bread, something that sounded good enough. The restaurant was half empty because of the snow. Other diners spoke in low murmurs. Someone laughed across the room. The sound felt foreign. "Ground rules," Daniel said after the waiter left. "If we're doing this eating together, talking, whatever this is, we need ground rules. I'm listening. No last names, no job titles, no resumes." He counted on his fingers. "No trying to impress each other. No lying about having our lives together." Victoria felt her shoulders drop an inch. "Deal. Anything else?" "Yeah. When one of us wants to leave, we leave. No guilt. No explanations." Agreed. The soup arrived. It was perfect. She hated that it was perfect. She'd wanted to dislike this place, to confirm that her assistant had been wrong, that this whole idea was a mistake from the start. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel broke bread and didn't wait for her answer. "Why'd you say yes to a blind date if you didn't want to be here?" Victoria took a breath. "Because saying no would mean admitting something I'm not ready to admit." "What's that?" "That I've built this entire life and somehow forgot to actually live it." Daniel nodded slowly. He didn't offer platitudes, didn't tell her she was being too hard on herself. Just nodded. Like he understood exactly what she meant. "My turn," Victoria said. "Why'd you say yes?" "Same reason. My son draws pictures of families at school. Mom, dad, kid. Except his pictures are just him and me. And every time I see one, I feel like I'm failing him, like he's missing something because I'm too scared to let anyone else in." The honesty sat between them like a third person at the table. They ate in comfortable silence. Outside, the snow fell thicker. The streetlights made it glow orange. Cars moved slowly through the accumulation. The city was quieting under the weight of winter. "I should go," Daniel said eventually, checking his phone. "My neighbor's watching my son, and it's getting late." "Okay." He signaled for the check. The waiter brought two. "We can split," Victoria started. "I've got mine, you get yours." Keeps it simple. They paid separately. Put on their coats, walked toward the door together. In the entryway, Daniel stopped. "Look, I know we said no guilt, no explanations, but I'm going to break that rule for a second." "Okay, can I have your number?" Victoria felt her heart do something it hadn't done in years, something almost like hope. They exchanged numbers in the doorway of an expensive restaurant, while snow piled on the sidewalk outside, and neither of them knew yet that this moment would matter. The coffee shop was called Winter Grind, and it was exactly the kind of place Victoria never went. Mismatched furniture, chipped mugs, a table that wobbled no matter which leg you tried to stabilize. The coffee was black and strong and tasted like it had been made by someone who understood that coffee was meant to be consumed, not photographed. Daniel sat across from her, hands wrapped around his mug. 3 days had passed since the restaurant. They'd texted 17 times. Nothing deep, nothing profound, just talking. "This place okay?" he'd asked when suggesting it. "I know it's not. It's perfect," she'd said, and somehow it was. A teenager with purple hair manned the counter. The pastries looked homemade and slightly misshapen. Someone had strung white lights above the window, and they reflected off the snow outside. It felt like being inside a snow globe. "Tell me something true," Victoria said. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "That's a hell of an opening. I'm tired of small talk. We already skipped past the normal dating steps. Might as well keep going." He considered this. Set down his mug. "Okay, something true." He paused. "My wife died 7 years ago. Car accident. She was coming home from her sister's place, and the roads were icy, and she didn't make it." Victoria felt her chest tighten. "I'm sorry. I spent the first 3 years angry. Angry at her for leaving. Angry at myself for not driving her. Angry at Liam for looking so much like her that some days I could barely stand to see him smile." He looked at his hands. "I'm not angry anymore, But I don't know if what I feel now is better or worse. The teenager dropped a mug behind the counter. It shattered. Nobody reacted. My turn? Victoria asked. Your turn. I built a company from nothing. Took something my father started in his garage and turned it into something that employs 8,000 people across 11 countries. And I'm good at it. Really good at it. She traced the rim of her mug. But every night I go home to an apartment that costs more than most people's houses, and I eat dinner alone. And I wonder if this is what winning is supposed to feel like. Does it feel like winning? It feels like I've climbed a mountain and forgotten why I started climbing in the first place. Daniel reached across the wobbly table and took her hand. It was the first time they'd touched since shaking hands in the restaurant. His palm was calloused, warm, real. I work with wood, he said. Build furniture, cabinets, nothing fancy. And every night I go home to a house that needs repairs I don't have time to fix, and I make dinner for a kid who's growing up too fast. And I wonder if I'm enough. Are you? Some days. Other days I'm just a guy who's scared of everything. The lights flickered. Snow pressed against the window. Someone opened the door and cold air rushed in, sharp and clean. They talked for 2 hours. About Liam's obsession with dinosaurs. About Victoria's father and the garage where he first taught her to read blueprints. About how hard it was to be brave. About how exhausting it was to pretend you weren't afraid. When Daniel's phone buzzed, he checked it and sighed. Liam's having nightmares again. I need to go home. Okay. They stood. Put on their coats. Walked to the door. Outside, the cold hit immediately. Victoria's breath misted in front of her face. Can I see you again? Daniel asked. Friday? Friday. He kissed her cheek. It was brief and gentle, and the kind of gesture that meant more than it should. Then he walked toward an old truck parked down the street, and Victoria stood in the cold, watching him go, feeling something she hadn't felt in years, like maybe she wasn't climbing alone anymore. The first text came at 9:47 p.m. Daniel, Liam wanted me to send you this. The photo showed a crayon drawing, a blue T-Rex standing next to what appeared to be a person. The person was labeled ANNA. The dinosaur was labeled ME. Victoria laughed out loud in her penthouse. Below her, the city spread out in all directions, covered in snow that made everything look clean and possible. Victoria. Tell Liam I'm honored. Does he know that T-Rex is my favorite dinosaur? Daniel. He does now. Victoria. What about his dad? Where does that put you? Daniel. Solid second place. I can live with that. The messages continued. Not every hour. Not even every day. But consistently. Reliably. Like something she could count on. Daniel. Liam asked if you like dinosaurs or if you were just being nice. Victoria. I genuinely like dinosaurs. Specifically, I like that they were massive and powerful and still went extinct. It's humbling. Daniel. That's a very CEO answer. Victoria. How do you know I'm a CEO? Daniel. Lucky guess. Or maybe you just have that I make important decisions energy. Victoria. Is that a compliment? Daniel. It's an observation. Whether it's a compliment depends on if you like what you've decided. She stared at that message for 10 minutes before responding. Victoria. I'm starting to think I haven't decided the right things. Daniel. Victoria. It's not that simple. Daniel. It never is. But it's also not as complicated as we make it. On Thursday, he sent a photo of a wooden box he'd built. Dovetail joints. Smooth finish. Simple and perfect. Victoria. That's beautiful. Daniel. It's for Liam's Legos. He keeps stepping on them in the dark. Victoria. Practical and beautiful. Daniel. Same could be said about you. She saved that message. Friday came slowly. Victoria found herself checking her phone more than usual. Her assistant noticed. You seem distracted, Margaret said, hovering in her office doorway. I'm fine. You've smiled at your phone 3 times this morning. In 7 years of working for you, I've never seen you smile at your phone. Victoria looked up. Maybe I'm just in a good mood. Maybe you met someone. Maybe you should focus on the quarterly reports. Margaret smiled. Already done. They're on your desk, along with coffee, because you forgot to eat breakfast again. After Margaret left, Victoria picked up her phone. Victoria? Still on for tonight? Daniel, wouldn't miss it. Same coffee shop? Victoria. Actually, I have a different idea. Do you trust me? Daniel. Getting there. Victoria. Good enough. Daniel called instead of texting. Victoria almost didn't answer. Phone calls felt too direct, too immediate. Texting gave you time to think, to edit, to present the version of yourself you wanted people to see. But she answered, "Hey." Daniel's voice came through. Background noise suggested he was outside. Sorry for calling instead of texting. I'm sanding a cabinet and typing is a nightmare with wood dust all over my hands. It's fine. She was in her office, city view, glass desk, everything precisely arranged. What's up? I've been thinking about what you said. About climbing a mountain and forgetting why you started. I wanted to tell you something true, since that seems to be our thing now. Victoria set down her pen, gave him her full attention. I'm listening. After my wife died, I built this wall, not physically, emotionally. I told myself it was to protect Liam, keep our life stable, predictable, safe. He paused. But really, I was protecting myself, because if I never let anyone in, I'd never have to lose anyone again. The office felt too big, too empty. And now? Victoria asked. Now I'm talking to you, and that wall is still there, but it's got cracks in it, big ones. She understood. God, she understood. I have a wall too, she said quietly. Mine's made of work, meetings, deals, decisions that affect thousands of people. I tell myself I don't have time for anything else, that I'm too busy building something important. But I think I built it because if I'm always busy, I never have to acknowledge that I'm alone. Daniel was quiet for a moment. She could hear the wind on his end. Do you want to be alone? He asked. Me neither. So, what do we do about these walls? I guess we see if we can climb them. Together, Victoria looked out at the city. Thousands of people down there, all living their lives, all probably carrying their own walls, their own fears, their own carefully constructed defenses. I'm scared, she admitted. Yeah, me too. What if we try this and it doesn't work? Then at least we tried. At least we didn't spend the rest of our lives wondering what if. What if we try and it does work, and then I screw it up? Then we deal with it. Together. The word together felt foreign in her mouth. She'd been alone for so long that the concept of partnership seemed almost fictional. Friday, she said. Let's talk about this Friday, in person. Okay, where are we going? It's a surprise. I'm not great with surprises. Neither am I. That's why we're going to practice. He laughed. It was a good sound. Warm. Real. All right, Anna, who's probably not really named Anna. I'll see you Friday. See you Friday. After they hung up, Victoria sat in her office for 20 minutes, doing nothing but watching the city move below her. Margaret knocked twice. Victoria ignored her both times. She was thinking about walls and cracks, and whether it was possible to build something new on a foundation that had been broken before. Friday arrived with more snow. The city was running out of places to put it. Plows had created small mountains on every corner. Cars moved cautiously. Everything took twice as long. Victoria arrived at the coffee shop first. She'd chosen a table near the window, ordered 2 black coffees, waited. Daniel came in 10 minutes later, shaking snow from his coat. He spotted her, smiled, sat down. So, he said, wrapping his hands around the warm mug. What's this surprise? First, I need to tell you something. His expression shifted. Guarded. Okay. My name isn't Anna, it's Victoria. Victoria Hale. She watched his face, waited for recognition. It came slowly. His eyes widened slightly. He set down his mug. Hale Dynamics, he said. The tech company. The one that just landed that contract with the Department of Defense. He leaned back, processed. So, when you said you built a company from nothing, I meant it. My father started it. I turned it into what it is now. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands. Jesus, I'm sorry I lied about my name. I get why you did. He looked at her. Really looked at her. But I need you to know something. I already knew. Victoria blinked. What? I Googled you. After the first night. Not because I was suspicious, just because I wanted to know who I was talking to. He held up his hands. I know that's probably weird, but I have a kid. I can't just meet strangers and not do some basic research. She didn't know whether to be relieved or upset. And you didn't say anything? Because it doesn't matter. Yeah, you're some incredibly successful CEO. Yeah, you probably have more money than I'll see in 10 lifetimes. But when you're sitting across from me, drinking bad coffee, telling me about feeling lonely, he shook his head. That's what matters. Not the job title, not the money, just you. That's what you do, not who you are. Victoria said quietly. Exactly. The coffee shop hummed around them. The teenager with purple hair was drawing something on the chalkboard menu. 2 college students argued about a philosophy assignment. An older man read a newspaper, the physical kind, with actual pages. My turn, Daniel said. I'm just a carpenter. I work out of a small shop. I drive a truck that's older than my relationship with my late wife. I live in a house that needs a new roof, new windows, and probably new everything else. He met her eyes. I don't have much. But what I have is real. And I need you to understand that if we're doing this, whatever this is, I can't give you the life you're probably used to. I don't want the life I'm used to. The words came out harder than she intended. I have a penthouse with a view of the entire city, and I've never once had anyone over to see it. I have a wine collection worth more than most cars, and I drink it alone. I have everything I thought I wanted, and it's empty. So what do you want? Victoria looked at him, at this man in his worn coat, with his calloused hands, with his honesty that felt like a lifeline. This, she said. I want this. Someone who doesn't care about Victoria Hale. CEO. Someone who just wants to drink coffee and talk about being scared. I can do that, Daniel said. I'm excellent at being scared. They both laughed. It broke the tension. So, Victoria said, now that we've established who we actually are, where does that leave us? Depends. Are you still interested in a guy who makes furniture and has a kid and drives a truck from 2009? Are you still interested in a woman who works 16-hour days and has forgotten how to not be in charge? Yeah. Daniel said simply. I am. Then I guess we figure it out as we go. No roadmap? No roadmap. That's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. They finished their coffee. Talked about nothing important. About Liam's latest dinosaur obsession. About Victoria's assistant who kept trying to set her up with appropriate men. About how strange it was to feel hopeful and terrified at the same time. When they left, the snow had stopped. The sky was clearing. Stars were barely visible through the city's light pollution. Can I show you something? Daniel asked. Where? You said you wanted a surprise. I've got one. Okay. They walked to his truck. It was old, yes, but clean, well maintained. The kind of vehicle that worked because someone took care of it. He drove through the city, past the expensive neighborhoods, past the tourist areas, into a part of Chicago Victoria rarely visited. Trees lined the streets here. Actual houses, not apartment buildings. Yards with swings and fences. He parked near a small park. Come on, he said. They walked into the park. Snow crunched under their boots. Their breath misted in the cold air. Daniel led her to an old oak tree, its branches bare but strong, covered in snow that glowed in the streetlight. "This is where I come when I need to think," he said. "When everything gets too loud, or too hard, or too much, I bring Liam here sometimes. We just sit, look at the tree, don't talk." Victoria looked up at the branches spreading against the dark sky. "It's beautiful. It survived every storm that's hit this city for the last 100 years. Every drought, every flood, every season." He touched the trunk. "Sometimes I need to remember that survival is enough, that you don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep growing." She understood why he'd brought her here. This wasn't about impressing her. It was about showing her what mattered to him, about sharing something true. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For this. For being honest. For not caring about the things most people care about." "I care about what's real," Daniel said. "Everything else is just noise." He took her hand. They stood under the oak tree, in a small park in a part of the city that never made it into postcards, and Victoria felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. The oak tree became their place. Over the next 2 weeks, they met there 4 times, always in the evening, always after Liam was asleep and Daniel's neighbor could watch him, always when Victoria could slip away from the office without anyone noticing she'd left early. They didn't do anything remarkable. They walked, talked, sometimes sat on the bench someone had installed years ago, its metal cold even through their coats. They watched the city from a distance, all those lights and buildings and people, and felt grateful they weren't in the middle of it. "Tell me about Liam," Victoria said one evening. The temperature had dropped below freezing. Their breath hung in the air. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." Daniel smiled. The kind of smile that came from thinking about someone you loved. "He's 8, small for his age. Obsessed with dinosaurs, like I mentioned. He's in 3rd grade. Hates math. Loves art. Draws constantly." "What does he draw?" "Everything. Dinosaurs, mostly. But also trees, houses, cars. Last week he drew our house with wings flying through the sky. When I asked him why, he said, because then we could go anywhere we wanted." Victoria felt something twist in her chest. "That's beautiful. He's smart. Too smart sometimes. Notices things. Like when I'm sad, or stressed, or pretending everything's fine when it's not. Does he know about me?" Daniel was quiet for a moment. "He knows I've been meeting someone. I haven't told him who, or how serious it might be. I'm trying to be careful, because you don't want him to get hurt if this doesn't work out." "Yeah." Victoria understood. She respected it. But part of her wondered what it would be like to be included in that part of his life. The real part, the part that mattered more than coffee shops and secret meetings in parks. "Can I tell you something?" she asked. "Always. I'm scared of meeting him." "Because?" "Because if he doesn't like me, this ends. And I've just started to hope that maybe it doesn't have to end." Daniel turned to face her fully. "Victoria, listen to me. Liam's opinion matters." "Of course it does. But this isn't just about him. It's about us too, about whether we want to try building something together." "Do you want that?" "Yeah," he said. "I do. I want to see where this goes. I want to wake up in the morning and know I'm going to hear from you. I want to introduce you to my son, not as some woman I'm dating, but as someone who matters." She kissed him then. It wasn't their first kiss. They'd kissed twice before, once outside the coffee shop, once under this same tree. But this kiss felt different, less tentative, more certain, like they were both deciding, in that moment, that this was worth the risk. When they pulled apart, snow had started falling again. Light flakes that caught in Victoria's hair. "I want to build you something," Daniel said. "What?" "A treehouse. For that oak tree. Something permanent. Something that says we were here." Victoria laughed. You can't just build a treehouse in a public park. Says who? Says. I don't know. The city. The Parks Department. Common sense. I'll get permission. Daniel, I'm serious. I want to build something for you. Something real. Not expensive, not impressive, just real. She looked at this man who built furniture with his hands, who raised a son alone, who thought the best gift he could give her was a treehouse in a public park. Okay, she said. Yeah? Yeah. Build me a treehouse. He kissed her again. The snow fell harder. Somewhere in the distance, a car horn honked. The city kept moving, kept living, kept being the city. But here, under the oak tree, time felt slower, more intentional. Like they were creating something that would outlast the winter. The house was smaller than Victoria expected. A 2-bedroom bungalow in a neighborhood where people still shoveled their neighbors' driveways and kids played in the street when weather allowed. The paint was fading. The porch sagged slightly on one side, but the yard was neat, and someone, probably Daniel, had strung lights along the fence. Victoria parked her car 2 blocks away. She'd driven the Volvo, not the Tesla. Worn jeans, not slacks. A sweater Margaret had given her 3 Christmases ago that she'd never worn. She was trying to be someone who fit here. Stop it, she told herself. Just be yourself. She walked to the front door. Before she could knock, it opened. A small boy stood there, dark hair, wide eyes, holding a book about dinosaurs that was nearly as big as he was. You're Anna, he said. Not a question, a statement. Actually, I'm Victoria, but you can call me whatever you want. Dad said your name was Anna. I lied a little bit at first. I'm sorry about that. Liam considered this. Why'd you lie? Because sometimes when you tell people your real name, they treat you differently. And I wanted your dad to like me, not for my name. That makes sense. He stepped aside. You can come in. The house smelled like tomato sauce and garlic bread. Daniel appeared from what must have been the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. You're early, he said, smiling. Traffic was lighter than I thought. Liam, what did we say about answering the door without me? That I'm not supposed to do it. Liam shrugged. But I looked through the window first, and she looks like her pictures. Victoria raised an eyebrow at Daniel. You showed him pictures? He asked. I'm trying this new thing where I'm honest with my kid. Liam tugged on Victoria's sleeve. Do you really like dinosaurs, or were you just being nice? I really like them. Especially Triceratops. They were tough and they didn't hunt other dinosaurs. They just wanted to eat plants and be left alone. That's my second favorite, Liam said seriously. T-Rex is my first because they're cool, but Triceratops is better for being friends with. I agree completely. Liam beamed. He held up his book. Want to see my favorite page? Absolutely. They sat on the couch, worn but comfortable, and Liam showed her illustrations of Cretaceous period dinosaurs. He explained, in great detail, why the Ankylosaurus had the best defense system and why velociraptors weren't actually as big as the movies showed them. Daniel watched from the kitchen doorway. Victoria caught his eye. He mouthed, You okay? She nodded. More than okay. Dinner was simple. Spaghetti, garlic bread, salad that Liam picked all the tomatoes out of. They ate at a small table in a kitchen that barely fit 3 people. The conversation was easy. Liam asked questions. Victoria answered honestly. Daniel filled in the comfortable silences. Do you have any kids? Liam asked, twirling spaghetti on his fork. Why not? Liam Daniel started. It's okay, Victoria said. That's a fair question. She looked at Liam. I worked a lot, so much that I didn't really make time for other things. Like having a family. Do you want kids? Victoria paused. She'd never let herself think about it seriously. Kids meant disruption, meant reorganizing everything, meant admitting that work wasn't enough. I think I'd like to be around kids, she said carefully. Maybe not my own. But being part of a kid's life? That sounds nice. Liam nodded, satisfied. You can be part of my life if you want. Something in Victoria's chest cracked open. I'd like that very much, she said quietly. After dinner, Liam showed her his room. Drawings covered every wall. Dinosaurs, yes, but also trees and houses and people. One drawing showed 3 figures, a tall man, a small boy, and a woman with long hair. Is that me? Victoria asked, pointing to the woman. Maybe. I drew it last week. Before I met you. But Dad was happy when he came home from seeing you, so I drew him with a friend. Your dad was happy? Yeah. He smiles at his phone now. He didn't used to do that. Victoria looked at this little boy who noticed everything, who wanted his father to be happy, who drew hopeful pictures of futures that might exist. Your dad's a pretty great person, she said. I know. He's my dad. They went back downstairs. Daniel had cleaned the kitchen. He was making coffee the real kind, not instant. Liam, bedtime in 30 minutes, he called. Can Victoria read me a story? Daniel looked at her. You don't have to. I'd love to, Victoria said. She read 3 chapters of a book about a mouse detective. Liam corrected her pronunciation twice and added commentary on the mystery-solving techniques. When she finished, he yawned and burrowed into his covers. Will you come back? He asked sleepily. If your dad says it's okay, he will. He likes you. Liam's eyes were already closing. I like you too. Victoria sat there for a moment after he fell asleep, watching this child who'd accepted her so easily, who'd made room for her without hesitation. Downstairs, Daniel handed her coffee. They sat on the couch where she'd looked at dinosaur books earlier. He's amazing, she said. He liked you. How can you tell? Because he asked you to come back. He doesn't ask that about people. He's careful about who he lets in. Smart kid. Gets it from his mother. They sat in comfortable silence. The house was warm. Outside, snow had started again. The neighborhood was quiet. This was so different from her penthouse, from the constant hum of the city, from the loneliness that echoed in empty rooms. Thank you, Victoria said. For what? For letting me into this. Into your life, into Liam's life. Daniel took her hand. Thank you for wanting to be here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. And she meant it. For the first time in her adult life, the most important place she could imagine being wasn't a boardroom or an office or a networking event. It was here. In a small house with a sagging porch, with a man who built furniture and a boy who loved dinosaurs. It was home. The crisis came on a Tuesday. Victoria was in her office when Margaret rushed in without knocking. We have a problem. What kind of problem? The Singapore deal. They're pulling out unless you're on site by Thursday. In person. Non-negotiable. Victoria's stomach dropped. The Singapore deal represented 18 months of work, $47 million, jobs for 300 people. Thursday, she repeated. I can have the jet ready by tonight. You'd need to stay at least a week. Maybe 2. A week, maybe 2. She'd promised Liam she'd come to his school art show on Friday. She'd promised Daniel they'd go back to the oak tree. She'd promised herself she was going to try being present. Can we video conference? Victoria asked. They were very clear. In person or nothing. Who's they? Chen himself. He said, and I quote, "If Victoria Hale wants our partnership, she can show us the respect of appearing in person." Victoria closed her eyes. Chen was old school, traditional. He'd take a video call as an insult. This wasn't a negotiation, it was an ultimatum. I'll call Daniel, Margaret said quietly. Cancel your personal plans. No, I'll call him. After Margaret left, Victoria sat at her desk for 15 minutes, phone in hand, not dialing. Everything she'd built was on one side of a scale. Everything she was building with Daniel and Liam was on the other. She called. Hey, Daniel answered. I was just thinking about you. I have to go to Singapore. Silence. When? He asked. Thursday. For at least a week. Maybe longer. That's... Liam's art show is Friday. I know. More silence. She could hear him breathing. Could imagine him standing in his workshop, sawdust on his hands, trying to process this. This is what your life is like, he said finally. Isn't it? Last-minute trips. Deals that can't wait. Choosing work over everything else. It's not a choice. It's always a choice, Victoria. The words hit hard because they were true. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I don't know how to be both people. The CEO who keeps 8,000 people employed and the person who shows up for a second grader's art show. You figure it out. That's what people do when things matter to them. It's not that simple. Why not? Because if I don't go, the deal falls apart. 300 people don't get jobs. 18 months of work disappears. The board loses faith in my leadership. Everything I've built starts crumbling. And if you do go, Victoria's throat tightened. Liam thinks I don't care. You think I'm choosing work over you. I prove that I'm exactly the person I've been trying not to be. Daniel was quiet for so long she thought he'd hung up. I'm scared, he said finally. I'm scared that this is how it's going to be. That every time something important happens, you'll have a deal that can't wait, a trip that can't be postponed, a meeting that matters more. That's not fair, isn't it? You're literally telling me right now that a business deal is more important than keeping a promise to an 8-year-old. It's not more important. It's just more urgent, more necessary, more real. His voice cracked. Victoria, I watched my wife die. I spent 7 years building a life for my son that's stable and safe and predictable, and I let you in because I thought maybe, finally, I could have something more. But I can't do this if every time something important comes up, you disappear. I'm not disappearing. It's one trip. It's never just one trip. It's one trip, then one meeting, then one emergency, then one crisis, and before you know it, it's been 6 months, and you realize you've spent more time in boardrooms than in your own life. Victoria felt tears she refused to let fall. So what are you saying? That I have to choose? Career or relationship? Success or happiness? That's not fair either. I'm saying you have to figure out what you actually want, not what you think you should want, not what makes logical sense, what you actually, genuinely want. I want both. Then prove it. Find a way to make both work, but don't ask me and Liam to keep coming in second to your job. We deserve better than that. The line went quiet. I have to think, Victoria said. Okay, I'm sorry. Me too. He hung up. Victoria sat in her office, overlooking a city she'd conquered professionally while failing personally, and realized she had 48 hours to figure out who she wanted to be. Victoria didn't sleep Tuesday night. She sat in her penthouse, laptop open, running numbers, reviewing contracts, looking for alternatives. At 3 a.m., she called her head of Asian operations. Laura, I need you to go to Singapore instead of me. What? Laura sounded groggy. Victoria, it's 3 in the morning. Chen wants a senior executive, someone who shows we're serious. That doesn't have to be me. He specifically asked for you. I'll call him personally. Explain that you speak for me, that you have full authority to negotiate, that you're the one who's been running this deal from the start anyway. He's old school, he might not. Then we lose the deal. Silence. You're serious. Completely serious. Can you do it? Yes. Of course I can do it. But Victoria, are you sure? I know what it is. I also know that I've spent 15 years building a company that should be able to function without me being everywhere at once. If it can't, then I've failed as a leader. What changed? Laura asked quietly. Victoria looked out at the city. Lights still glowing. People still living. The world still turning. I remembered why I started building in the first place, she said. Wednesday, she spent 12 hours preparing Laura, running scenarios, making calls, sending emails. At 7 p.m., she called Chen directly. Mr. Chen, Laura Martinez will be representing me in Singapore. I requested you personally, Miss Hale. I understand. And I'm trusting you with someone more valuable than me. Laura built this deal. She knows every detail. She has full authority to negotiate on behalf of Hale Dynamics. This is very unusual. I'm asking you to trust my judgment. The same judgment that's made Hale Dynamics a reliable partner for the last decade. Chen was quiet. There is something more important than this deal? Victoria thought about Liam's art show, about Daniel building a treehouse, about choosing to show up. Yes, she said. There is. Then I will meet with Miss Martinez, and we will see if your judgment is as sound as you believe. Thank you. After the call, Victoria sat in her office. Margaret appeared in the doorway. You really did it, Margaret said. I did. The board is going to lose their minds. Probably. Chen might still walk away. He might. And you're okay with that? Victoria considered the question. I'm okay with knowing I tried to do both. That I didn't just default to what was easy. Margaret smiled. For what it's worth, I think you made the right call. We'll find out. Thursday morning, Victoria called Daniel. I'm not going to Singapore, she said. What? I'm sending someone else. Someone better qualified. Someone who's actually been running the project. Victoria, I'll be at Liam's art show Friday. Front row. I promise. Daniel was quiet. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. Because you were right. It's always a choice. And I'm choosing this. I'm choosing us. I'm choosing to show up. What if the deal falls apart? Then I'll deal with it. But I'm not going to miss Liam's art show because I'm too scared to trust my own team. Are you sure? No, I'm terrified. But I'm doing it anyway. She heard him laugh. A real laugh. The kind that sounded like relief. Okay, he said. Then I'll see you Friday. See you Friday. Friday came with clear skies. No snow for once, just cold, bright sunshine. Victoria arrived at the elementary school 20 minutes early. The gymnasium was decorated with children's artwork. Parents milled around, holding phones, ready to photograph their kids' masterpieces. She found Liam's section. 3 drawings hung on the wall. The first showed a T-Rex. The second showed a house with a sagging porch. The third showed 3 people standing under a tree. A tall man, a small boy, a woman with long hair. Above them, the beginning of what looked like a treehouse. The title, written in crayon. My Family. Victoria stared at it. Daniel appeared beside her. He finished that one yesterday. He called us a family. Yeah, but we're not. We haven't. He sees what he sees. Daniel took her hand. Is he wrong? Victoria looked at the drawing. At this hopeful, honest picture of something that didn't exist yet but could. No, she said quietly. He's not wrong. Liam ran up, still wearing his art class apron. You came? I promised, didn't I? Yeah, but grown-ups break promises sometimes. Dad said you had to go on a trip. I decided the trip could wait. Some things are more important. Liam hugged her. It was brief and tight and completely unself-conscious. The kind of hug only kids give before they learn to be guarded. I'm glad you're here, he said. Me too. After the art show, they went to the oak tree. Someone from the Parks Department had apparently approved Daniel's request. There was a notice posted. Construction of community treehouse approved. Contractor, Daniel Morrison. You really got permission, Victoria said. I told you I would. When do you start building? Tomorrow. If you want to help, I don't know anything about building treehouses. Good thing I do. I'll teach you. They stood under the oak tree in the park where they'd shared so much already, and Victoria felt something settle in her chest. something that felt like certainty. "I can't promise this will be easy," she said. "I'm still going to work long hours. I'm still going to have emergencies. I'm still going to mess up the balance sometimes. I know, but I'm going to try. Really try. To show up. To be present. To build something that matters more than quarterly reports." Daniel pulled her close. "That's all I'm asking, that we both try, even when it's scary, especially when it's scary." Liam ran ahead, climbing on the oak tree's lower branches, already imagining what the treehouse would look like. "Some things are worth building slow," Daniel said, watching his son. Victoria leaned against him. "Then let's build it." Snow started falling again, light flakes that caught in the afternoon sun. The city hummed in the distance. Life continued, complicated and messy and real. But here, under the oak tree, 3 people stood together. A man who'd learned to love again. A boy who believed in hope. A woman who'd remembered how to live. And above them, soon, there would be a treehouse. Something permanent. Something that said, "We were here. We chose this. We built something that mattered." The snow kept falling, but this time it didn't feel cold. It felt like possibility.